I've been combing through the probable cause affidavit that was released to the public in the Bryan Kohberger case, and there's a lot of information in there that really pieces the puzzle together. Now, am I surprised? No. This is always the case whenever I get discovery when I have to evaluate an offender for whatever the court requests. The police use the media to keep the communities updated, but also use the public to help identify a suspect. They can't show their entire hand until they're certain and until it's, available to the public through the Freedom of Information Act and requested. There's a lot of theories that go around about Bryan Kohberger from online sleuths, and a lot of those theories can be dispelled from this public affidavit. One of those theories is that Bryan Kohberger was the cleanup person called in to clean up after the crime was committed and was not the actual perpetrator of this crime. Let's dispel that. A single source of male DNA was left on the bottom snap of the knife sheath that was left behind and under the body of one of the victims. If he's the cleanup person, he's doing a shoddy job. But also, why would his DNA be left on something that was connected to the actual weapon if he didn't yield it? It's not like he would touch it and leave it there if he's the cleanup person. Let's be honest. Detectives believe that the unalivings occurred somewhere between 4 a.m. and 4:25 a.m. This is due to the surviving victim who stated that they all went to bed around 4 a.m. The fact that one of the victims was using their phone and they were on TikTok at 4:12 a.m. That 4:17 a.m. they heard a whimper and a dog barking on a security camera. There was a single shoe print that was discovered with a diamond-shaped pattern that they have identified to be similar to a Vans shoe. This shoe print was discovered right outside of the door of the surviving victim, which corresponds with the black-clad figure that she observed. Investigators also did a video canvass where they canvassed the neighborhood and they collect security footage. They combed through the early morning hours of all of that security footage, and that's how they discovered the white sedan. The sedan was first seen at 3:26 a.m. It did not have a front license plate, which made it easy to identify. There were multiple sightings of this vehicle in the King Road area starting at 3:29 a.m. and ending at 4:20 a.m. During this time, they only saw a few other cars that entered and exit this area that were not white sedans and all had front license plates. After it was initially seen at 3:26 a.m. and circling the area, it eventually entered the area for the fourth time at 4:04 a.m. It was then seen departing the area at 4:20 a.m. Police also got video footage at Washington State University. On the same date of the murders, that same white sedan, missing the front license plate, was seen leaving the parking lot of Washington State University at 2:44 a.m. At 2:53 a.m., video footage shows that same white sedan traveling on a road that connects Pullman, Washington to Moscow, Idaho. Then camera footage showed that that same white sedan was pulling back into Pullman, Washington around 5:25 a.m. Investigators asked Washington State University officers to keep an eye out for white Elantras. On November 25th, 2022, a Washington State University police officer queried the license plates of white Hyundai Elantras in the parking lot, and one of them came back to Bryan Kohberger. Police then pulled up Kohberger's information and saw his picture from the DMV, and his height, his weight, his bushy eyebrows, and his description all matched that the victim had seen. Police began to investigate Bryan Kohberger even more, discovering he was a doctorate candidate at Washington State University. He had undergraduate degree in psychology and cloud-based forensics. His graduate school essay to get into the program was about how he wanted to assist rural police departments about how to better analyze technological data in public safety operations. He also posted a Reddit survey. He asked participants to give information to understand how psychological traits and emotions influence decision-making when committing a crime. From there, they determined that his cell phone did ping around the King residence where the crime occurred between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. On the night of the crime at 2:42 a.m., it pinged at his residence. At 2:47 a.m., it pinged again in a location consistent with that of him leaving his residence. Shortly thereafter, it stopped, which is consistent with somebody who is either in a zone that does not have service or the cellular device was turned off. And then at 5:30 a.m., the phone starts utilizing resources that provide coverage to Pullman, Washington. The day after the unalivings, the phone pinged at 9 a.m. at his residence, only it was leaving the Pullman residence and heading toward Moscow. It then was using resources provided to the King Road residence around 9:12 a.m. It pinged again around the King Road residence at 9:21 a.m. This is alleging that hours after the crime had occurred, Bryan allegedly left his residence, went back to the scene of the crime, and then went back home. And if we know anything about serial unalivers, a lot of times they like to circle back and check it out or keep a keepsake of some kind. So this is pretty consistent. The fact that his phone pinged and then went black and then pinged again before and after the time that the crime committed is consistent with somebody who is trying to conceal their location. More importantly, they combed through his records prior to the alleged incident and discovered that his phone had pinged at the King residence, the location of the crime, prior to committing the crime. On August 21st, 2022, 3 months prior to the unalivings, Bryan's phone pinged at that residence on King Road around 10:34 p.m. It remained in that area until 11:35 p.m. for approximately 1 hour. Then at 11:37 p.m., Bryan Kohberger was pulled over for a traffic stop. So what the affidavit is trying to indicate is that Bryan Kohberger had been casing out the King residence months before allegedly committing these crimes. He was there just before the crimes committed, and he left precisely at 4:20 a.m. The estimated time of death is between 4 a.m. and 4:20 a.m. According to the survivor, there was a DoorDash delivery at 4 a.m. According to the records of the victims, one of them was on TikTok at 4:12 a.m. At 4:17 a.m., security footage picked up a whimper and a dog barking. At 4:20 a.m., Bryan is leaving. Regarding his history, we now have learned that he suffered from a drug addiction, and at age 19, he was arrested for stealing his sister's iPhone. He also threatened his dad when his dad confronted him about that, saying, "Don't do anything stupid." Bryan did not serve any jail time for this, so public record is not existent about this. We also learned that there was some potential issues as a teaching assistant at Washington State University where he was not getting along with his peers and his colleagues, some unfavorable behavior towards females, allegedly, and that he also had a colleague who confided in some concerns regarding her safety in her home and allegedly helped her install security cameras, which he would have had access to. We know that he was casing out this house months before the crimes were committed. I don't believe that he has unalived anybody previously, but I think that if he wasn't caught, he would be considered a serial offender, provided that he is guilty of this. Because we can't presume guilt, we have to presume innocence until proven guilty. However, the probable cause affidavit is their justification for charging him and the evidence in which they have to support that. And it appears, from what I can see, to be very strong.